In today's race toward electric vehicles, the road seems clearly marked: batteries, charging stations, and range anxiety. Every major automaker, from Tesla to Toyota, has doubled down on battery-powered EVs, convinced that lithium-ion is the future. But in the middle of all this high-voltage momentum, one name is quietly charting a radically different course: Honda. While others chase bigger batteries and faster chargers, Honda has been working behind the scenes on a solution that doesn't rely on either. No gasoline, no plug, no waiting around for hours at a charging station. Instead, Honda is betting on a technology many had written off as too early or too risky: hydrogen fuel cells. And they're not doing it halfway. This isn't a concept buried in a research lab or a flashy prototype for the auto show floor. Honda's move is calculated, tested, and rooted in decades of experimentation. Their aim, not to compete with Tesla on their turf, but to rewrite the rules of the game altogether. Honda's not just following the crowd, said an insider close to the project. They're trying to leapfrog it. Hydrogen fuel cell vehicles offer something battery EVs still struggle with: fast refueling, longer range, and zero emissions, all without the burden of massive, heavy batteries. Refueling takes just minutes, much like a regular gas stop, and the only byproduct is water vapor. It's a future that feels familiar, but cleaner. What makes this bold is that no one expected it. While the world was fixated on plug-in tech, Honda was quietly reviving an old idea with a modern twist. It's a move that could sidestep some of the biggest headaches facing EV adoption, like long charging times, grid strain, and limited mineral supplies for batteries. But then again, Honda has never been one to follow the herd. From their early motorbikes to hybrid powertrains, they've always marched to the beat of their own engineering drum. This bold hydrogen pivot, it fits that legacy perfectly. And to really understand where that legacy comes from and why Honda is uniquely built for a challenge like this, we need to rewind the story. Back to the grease-stained hands and wild ambition of one man: Soichiro Honda. Soichiro Honda's dream. Soichiro Honda wasn't born into comfort. He didn't wear a suit or sit in a glass office tower. He wore grease-stained overalls, had dirt under his fingernails, and carried the soul of an inventor. His journey began not in a factory, but in a tiny wooden shed where he hand-built piston rings, often sleeping on the floor next to his workbench. His early designs were rejected by Toyota. Instead of giving up, he went back to school to learn metallurgy. That hunger to improve, to understand, to solve problems, it defined him. When World War II devastated Japan, Soichiro didn't wait for things to get better. He got to work. Gasoline was scarce, so he began attaching surplus radio generator engines to bicycles, giving people a way to get around when they had no other options. That simple, gritty idea became the seed of what would eventually grow into the Honda Motor Company. He didn't just want to build products, he wanted to build dreams. And he did. Motorcycles that broke records, cars that defied expectations, and a company culture that put curiosity ahead of convention. Honda wasn't about flash, it was about function, purpose, and ingenuity. Soichiro once famously said, "Success is % failure." That wasn't just a clever quote, it was how he lived. And it became a core philosophy for Honda as a brand. Try, fail, learn, try again. That spirit led Honda to become the world's largest engine manufacturer, powering everything from motorcycles to boats to jet planes. And through it all, Honda remained a company that refused to sit still. They were early to hybrid technology, pushing forward with the insight long before green was cool. They developed humanoid robots when the rest of the world barely believed in AI. They even dabbled in jet aviation. Because why not? That's the Honda DNA. Never follow, always explore. Today, that same restless energy is driving their return to hydrogen. And while some automakers are just now getting into the clean energy race, Honda's been in the lab for decades. The next chapter in this story starts with a vehicle that carried the hopes and the hard lessons of Honda's hydrogen dreams, the Honda Clarity. The game-changing element. Let's talk about hydrogen, the lightest, most abundant element in the universe, and possibly the biggest wildcard in the future of clean energy transportation. At first glance, hydrogen sounds like a dream fuel. It's odorless, invisible, and leaves behind zero emissions, just a bit of water vapor from the tailpipe. No smoke, no smog, no carbon footprint for a planet choking. On pollution and racing against climate change, it offers a clean slate. But here's the catch. Most people don't understand it. It's not as simple as plugging in an EV or filling up at a gas station. Hydrogen-powered vehicles use fuel cells, which convert hydrogen gas into electricity through a chemical reaction. It's high-tech, but seamless. So seamless that, behind the wheel, you wouldn't know the difference from an electric vehicle. Except for one big perk, refueling time. Unlike battery-powered EVs, which, even with fast chargers, can take 30 minutes to an hour to top up, a hydrogen car fills up in 3 to 5 minutes, just like gasoline. And because hydrogen fuel cells are lighter than massive lithium-ion batteries, the cars they power are often more efficient and offer longer range. Honda saw this coming before most others did. They understood that for EVs to truly go mainstream, drivers would want something that felt familiar, a clean ride that didn't come with lifestyle changes or long wait times. That's why they invested in hydrogen when most of the world was still figuring out plug-in hybrids. It's not about jumping on trends, a Honda engineer once said. It's about building what's truly better. But that kind of forward thinking can sometimes backfire, because being right too early can look a lot like being wrong. And when Honda introduced their first hydrogen car, the world simply wasn't ready for it. Still, they pressed on. They didn't abandon hydrogen. They embraced the lessons from those early experiments, especially with the Honda Clarity, a vehicle that, while not a commercial hit, proved that hydrogen power was more than possible. It was practical. And what they learned from the Clarity would set the stage for their boldest comeback yet. The rise and fall of the Honda Clarity. When the Honda Clarity first rolled onto the scene, it wasn't just another car, it was a statement. One of the first mass-market vehicles powered entirely by hydrogen fuel cells, the Clarity was quiet, elegant, and groundbreaking. It didn't rely on gasoline, and it didn't need to plug in for hours like early electric cars. Instead, it refueled in minutes and only left behind a puff of water vapor. It was everything the world said it wanted: zero emissions, quick refueling, and smooth driving. So what went wrong? In one word, infrastructure. When the Clarity hit showrooms, hydrogen stations were few and far between. Outside of California and a handful of spots in Japan, finding a place to refuel was nearly impossible. Even in areas where stations existed, they weren't always reliable. Some were down for maintenance, others ran out of hydrogen. So even though the tech was ready, the world wasn't. People didn't want to gamble on a car they might not be able to drive. And as one former Honda executive put it, it wasn't the car that failed, it was the timing. And he was right. The Clarity wasn't just ahead of the curve. It was too far ahead. It debuted in a time when hydrogen was still unfamiliar and misunderstood. People had questions and not enough answers. Was it safe? Would it explode? Where could they fill it up? Most drivers weren't ready to make that leap. Eventually, Honda had to pull the plug. The Clarity, despite its engineering, brilliance, and futuristic promise, was quietly discontinued. But Honda didn't walk away discouraged. They did what they have always done best. They learned. They studied what went wrong, the infrastructure gaps, the consumer hesitations, the missed opportunities. And then they waited. Waited for the world to catch up. Waited for hydrogen stations to grow, for clean tech to become a mainstream conversation, and for drivers to be more open to new solutions. Now, years later, Honda is back. But this time, they're not betting on an unfamiliar car. Instead, they're reinventing a fan favorite. They're taking the trusted CRV and giving it a bold hydrogen twist, combining familiarity with innovation. And that's where the story gets exciting to gain this. CRV Unveiled. Say hello to Honda's bold return to hydrogen, the CRV EFCIV. At first glance, it might just look like the same family-friendly SUV that's been a favorite on roads for years. But once you pop the hood, that you'll see it's anything but ordinary. This isn't just a regular CRV with some updates. It's powered by a hydrogen fuel cell which generates electricity on the go. That means no gas, no waiting around at a charger, just a quick 3-5 minute refuel and you're good to hit the road for hundreds of miles. And here's the twist. Honda didn't stop there. They also added a plug-in battery so you can drive short distances entirely on electricity, perfect for daily commutes or errands. This hybrid approach is smart. It gives drivers the flexibility to use electricity when it's available and lean on hydrogen when it's not. As one Honda spokesperson put it, we're giving people real options. This is about choice, not compromise. And let's be clear, this isn't a prototype or some futuristic tease. The CRV FCEV is production-ready, rolling off lines with real-world intentions. Honda has launched it first in regions like California and Japan, where hydrogen stations are already in place. It's not just a technological leap, it's a strategic rollout. What makes this especially clever is that Honda didn't ask drivers to trust a totally new vehicle. They took something people already know and love, the CRV, and evolved it. That helps eliminate hesitation. You get all the comfort, space, and reliability of a CRV, but now it runs cleaner, smarter, and with far more range flexibility than your average EV. And when you consider the bigger picture, rising fuel prices, growing concern over battery waste, and overloaded power grids, Honda's hydrogen comeback isn't just timely, it feels visionary. But the real magic of this vehicle isn't just in how it drives, it's in how it works. The technology behind the fuel cell system is a marvel of modern engineering. And in the next part, we're going under the skin to see how this silent powerhouse actually turns hydrogen into motion. Stay tuned, because this is where Honda's innovation really shines. Inside the CRV FCEV, pop the hood on the CRV FCEV, and you'll see what Honda's really been up to. This isn't just a cool-looking SUV, it's a serious piece of engineering. The car runs on a 174 horsepower electric motor. That means it's quick, smooth, and whisper quiet, just like other EVs. But here's where it gets interesting. It also comes with a 17.7 kilowatt battery that lets you drive about 29 miles on pure electricity. Perfect for running errands or short commutes without using a drop of hydrogen. But when you need to go farther, that's when the hydrogen fuel cell kicks in. With a full tank, you can drive up to 270 miles. And when it's time to refuel, it takes just minutes, not hours like battery EVs. Honda's team made this system not just powerful, but practical. It gives you flexibility without the pressure of charging every night or stressing about range on a road trip. It's all about real-world use, said one of the lead engineers. People want tech that fits into their lives, not the other way around. And that's what makes the CRV FCEV so different. It's not just a green vehicle, it's one that feels normal in the best way possible. But one of its biggest strengths isn't what's under the hood, it's what happens when you stop to refuel. Speed meets sustainability. Ask any electric car owner what their biggest frustration is, and you'll probably get the same answer. Charging takes too long. Even with today's fastest chargers, you're still looking at 20 to 30 minutes to get a decent boost. And that's if you find a working charger nearby. For drivers in a rush or long-haul commuters, that's a deal breaker. That's where hydrogen steps in, and where Honda's CRV FCEV changes the game. Refueling the hydrogen-powered CRV takes just 3 to 5 minutes, about the same as filling up at a gas station. There's no need to plug in overnight, no need to strategize every stop on a road trip. You pull in, connect the nozzle, the system pressurizes, and just like that, you're back on the road. It's the convenience we've always had without the guilt, said a California driver who took a hydrogen vehicle for a spin. That quote says it all, because this isn't just fast, it's clean. The only emission is water vapor. No smoke, no carbon, no compromises. And here's the twist. Hydrogen doesn't just refuel fast, it also frees up the electric grid. While battery EVs rely heavily on charging networks, which pull power from already strained urban grids, hydrogen stations can be scaled independently, using renewable energy sources like wind or solar to produce green hydrogen on site. This could be the missing piece in the clean transportation puzzle, a practical, scalable way to go green without rethinking your whole life. What makes it even more exciting? Honda's not doing this alone, but they've partnered with General Motors to build next-generation fuel cell systems that are cheaper, more efficient, and easier to produce. It's the kind of collaboration that could push hydrogen from niche to mainstream faster than anyone expected. So now the question isn't whether hydrogen can compete, it's how soon it will take the lead. And just around the corner, there's another surprising way this CRV could change how we think about vehicles. Because it's not just a clean car, it might also be your next power source. Honda and GM partnership. Behind every great comeback, there's a strong partnership. In this case, it's Honda and General Motors. These two giants have joined forces to develop next-gen fuel cell systems, sharing their research, factories, and know-how to bring down costs and speed up production. They're building fuel cells in Michigan, right in the heart of the US auto industry. It's not just about innovation, it's about bringing that innovation home. This isn't a solo mission, a GM executive shared. We're combining our strengths to build something that lasts. That means stronger, more durable fuel cells that are also cheaper to make. And for drivers, it means vehicles like the CRV EFCEV will be more accessible, more reliable, and built with a focus on real-world use. This kind of teamwork is rare in the car world, especially when companies usually compete. But when the mission is big enough, like changing the way we fuel our lives, working together just makes sense. And what Honda and GM are building doesn't stop with cars. They're thinking bigger, much bigger. Powering possibilities. Imagine your car isn't just for driving. Imagine it could power your house during a blackout, or charge your laptop while you camp in the middle of nowhere. That's exactly what the CRV EFCEV can do. This vehicle isn't just a mode of transport, it's a mobile power station. In emergencies, it can provide electricity for homes and devices. In daily life, it becomes a backup source of clean energy wherever you are. Honda's not just making a car, said an energy analyst, they're building a tool for modern life. This kind of thinking is a big deal. It means the car isn't just helping the planet, it's helping people be more prepared, more independent, and more connected. And it's only possible because of the unique flexibility hydrogen provides. It stores energy in a compact way that can be used when and where it's needed. But for all of this to work, for more people to get on board, something big needs to change. And that something is infrastructure. Building the hydrogen network. You can have the best hydrogen car in the world, but if there's nowhere to refuel it, you've got a problem. Honda learned that the hard way with the Clarity. But things are different now. In places like California, the number of hydrogen stations is growing steadily. More pumps, more locations, and more support from both the government and private companies. Every new station is another step toward a real future for hydrogen, said a project lead from a fueling startup. Big investments are pouring in, some from clean energy firms, others from car companies, and even tech giants. The goal is simple: build a network that makes owning a hydrogen car just as easy as owning a gas one. And the faster this infrastructure grows, the more realistic hydrogen becomes for everyday drivers. That's the bet Honda is making. And they're not looking at hydrogen as a gamble anymore. They're seeing it as a growing wave, and they want to be right there at the front of it. Clean energy champion. At the heart of Honda's hydrogen push is a simple truth: the planet can't wait. Every time a hydrogen-powered car like the CRV EFCEV hits the road, it helps clean the air. Why? Because instead of smoke or carbon emissions, it only releases water vapor. That's it. No tailpipe pollution, no smog, just clean driving. And that's not the only environmental win. Unlike battery-powered EVs, hydrogen cars don't rely on massive amounts of lithium or rare earth materials. Mining for those can cause environmental damage and raise ethical concerns. Hydrogen avoids that issue entirely. A Honda executive put it plainly: it's not just about zero emissions, it's about how we get there. Battery EVs are still part of the solution, but hydrogen adds a new tool to the toolbox. It fills gaps, especially in areas where charging is hard or where long-range, quick refueling vehicles are needed. That's what makes the CRV EFCEV more than just another green car. It's a symbol of balance, of finding a smarter, cleaner path forward without pushing all the burden onto one solution. And by changing the way we drive, we might just change the way the whole industry moves. Challenging the EV norm. Electric vehicles used to be rare. Now they're everywhere. But even as EV sales rise, so do the concerns. People worry about long charging times, about how long batteries will last, about what happens to those batteries when they die. That's where hydrogen has a chance to shake things up. And the CRV EFCEV is doing exactly that. It offers the same smooth ride, the same quiet drive, but without the weight, without the bulk of big batteries, without the pressure to plug in all the time. It's like someone opened a new lane on the EV highway, joked an auto journalist, and Honda's cruising in it. This isn't just about competition, it's about expansion. When new ideas hit the market, everybody benefits. Better choices, better innovation, and better performance across the board. Honda's hydrogen comeback isn't trying to kill EVs. It's pushing them to evolve, and it's giving consumers something they have always wanted: more freedom. Familiarity meets futurism. At first glance, the CRV EFCEV doesn't scream future tech. And that's the point. It still looks like a CRV, same comfortable seats, same roomy cabin, same easy-to-drive feel. But underneath, it's packed with cutting-edge fuel cell tech. This familiar face helps break down fear. For people nervous about trying something new, it says, "Hey, you already know me." And that makes all the difference. "We didn't want people to feel like they were driving a science project," said a Honda designer. "We wanted it to feel like coming home." The transition to clean energy shouldn't feel like a leap, it should feel like a step. Honda understands that. That's why they're not pushing a strange futuristic design. They're taking something people trust and simply making it better. It's a small touch, but it's the kind of thing that makes a big difference, especially when you're asking people to try a new fuel source. And Honda's not rushing into it. They're rolling this out where it makes the most sense. Targeted market introduction. When Honda launched the CRV EFCEV, they didn't try to go everywhere at once. They started where hydrogen stations already exist. Places like California, it's a smart move. Drivers there can actually use the vehicle to its full potential without worrying about running out of fuel. And instead of pushing hard for sales, Honda is focusing on leasing. That means lower risk for customers and more room for Honda to get feedback, make adjustments, and improve the experience. "This is about building trust," one Honda rep said. "We're in it for the long game." And while the rollout may seem slow, it's strategic, because every new station, every satisfied driver, and every successful lease builds momentum. Honda isn't just selling a car, they're growing a whole ecosystem. And as that grows, the CRV EFCEV will reach more people, more states, and eventually more countries. It's not about being first everywhere, it's about doing it right. And if they keep building carefully, the road ahead looks promising. Pioneering a hydrogen-powered future. Honda's not trying to replace electric cars. They're trying to redefine what clean driving looks like. The CRV EFCEV is proof that hydrogen isn't just a science fair idea, it's ready for the real world. With fast refueling, zero emissions, and practical performance, it opens the door to a different kind of electric future. And this isn't just a side project, it's part of a bigger promise. Honda is investing in hydrogen, not just for cars, but for trucks, power grids, and even off-grid energy. "We see hydrogen as a piece of the larger puzzle," said one Honda executive. "It complements everything we're already doing." It's a vision rooted in the same spirit that started it all. Soichiro Honda's belief in doing things differently, even when it's hard. That's what makes this moment feel so full of possibility. Because when one company dares to take a different road, it doesn't just create a new path for itself. It opens up a new direction for everyone else to follow.